I want to start off with defining work capacity. And I always like to start with this because I've been a strength coach for a long time. I think coming up on 12 years, or it's been 12 years coming up on 13. I don't know. I lost track. I've been around for a while and I have yet to really see like a solid definition of work capacity that I see it and I'm like, I like that. I'm going to use that. And so because of that, or because of the lack of definition, I created my own. I just defined it myself. So who knows how good it is compared to others, but I think it's good. And actually, to even one up that, I've got two definitions. I've got kind of like a formal definition, and then I have like a more informal. So my formal definition is the ability to tolerate load under high metabolic and cardiorespiratory demands. So I think the key words there are load and then the different types of demands, metabolic and cardiorespiratory. So we'll go into those. But I like to use my informal definition more, which is just resisted conditioning. Because I think at the end of the day, that makes sense in my brain. Hopefully it makes sense in like everyone else's brain, because that's what it is. It's conditioning, it's cardiorespiratory demands, but there is that load component or that resistance component. And that's where it's just that combination of strength and endurance kind of all happening at once, which I think is really, really unique and, doesn't really get trained a whole lot in certain contexts. So how do you like the formal or informal one better?
I kind of like your formal one. And I think the work capacity concept is just a hard one to define because it really just represents the most jack of all trades adaptation you could ever talk about. It's really just
Yeah.
how robust are you systematically from cardiovascular to nervous system to muscular system to be able to perform an output for as long as humanly possible, which in the case of wildland firefighting is the name of the game. I think this is the most important adaptation for wildland firefighters to seek potentially. And it really doesn't have to do with any one singular adaptation. It's how resilient are you for the demands that you're under, whether it's cutting line, whether it's hiking, whether it's just extended work for 30 hours. Just can you keep performing while you're enduring the most fatigue, the most metabolic byproduct, just like the harshest physiological environments internally? Can you keep going? So just jack of all trades, who's going to endure the most suck today? Like that's work capacity to me.
Yeah. I like that enduring the most suck.
I knew you would.
Cause it is, there's so many different demands kind of all interplaying at once that if you have a weakness within any of those demands, like it's going to show. So you kind of have to be, a jack of all trades, master of none to a certain extent when it comes to work capacity. Every once in a while you see it, someone's on one far end of the spectrum, like their endurance is off the charts. They can go for days. But then you throw a 50-pound pack on their back and they just fold, right? Because they just have no ability to tolerate those higher loads. Or on the other end, like you have the guy that can just throw weight around like it's nothing, but he's good for only a few reps. And then, a set of 5 is like high volume for him. So you kind of can't be like too extreme. You have to be in the sweet spot in the middle when it comes to work capacity. So kind of going off of that, I want to go into what I created as kind of my 3 key principles when it comes to developing work capacity. And actually, I want to back up real quick before I go into these principles. We're talking about hiking, right? Hiking absolutely falls into the work capacity bucket, in my opinion, because it is everyone listening to this knows, like your lungs and your heart rate are maxed out. When you're going on a hard hike, your legs, like your muscles are maxed out. So it's this, we're talking about like strength, we're talking about endurance, we're talking about hiking, but there are a lot of other kind of components of work capacity or styles of training. So just so that we're all kind of on the same page when I'm thinking about like developing work capacity from a PT standpoint, talking about hiking, but I can also talk about like erg machines, like the rower, the ski erg, air bike. Those, to me, those fit perfectly into the work capacity category. It's that high cardiorespiratory, but there's also that resistance component. You can look at hate it or love it, like look at CrossFit, like all the CrossFit Metcons you see, the AMRAPs, the 4-time workouts, like those are all work capacity because even if you're doing body weight movements, you're still doing resistance training. I mean, you're doing it at high volumes with high cardio demands. So all of that falls into work capacity development. So when you're when we're going through these principles, that's kind of what I want you to think about. Obviously, you can prioritize hiking in your mind of how you're taking all this in, but you can also take it in from more of a broad perspective. So I wanted to say that before I jump in.